What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Lesser Athletes. My name is Chadwell, and today, like always, is another interesting video for you here on the channel. Who will dethrone Jacob Fatu? Ooh, my Samoan werewolf. I believe there's two things that can happen with this reign. One, super long. Super long. Two, he somehow loses this by SummerSlam, maybe a little earlier, and he's just multiple times winner. And then keeps on just, which I kind of hope that goes on, but I don't want him. I want to lose in triple threats, not actually like lose in like, other matches, and then ultimately a singles push. That's really big. Jacob Fatu so over. Jacob Fatu is a king. I've had this Jacob Fatu poster on my wall for a long time. It was like right after when he debuted, because I think that's like one of the nights. Which match was that? I don't really remember. Jacob Fatu's the GOAT. That's all I know is Jacob Fatu's the GOAT. I'm excited to see what he does as a U.S. title holder. I think he's going to cook. This is about to get exciting. So we have 9, 10, a lot of people here to talk about. I'll give a case, but ultimately I think it's up to a couple people. Up next, I always do that. Oh my gosh. We need to count on how many times I've said up next on every single video. Obafemi is who I have here. I think it's a little too early to say Obafemi will go against Jacob Fatu with him currently holding the NXT title. But let's say Jacob Fatu holds this for a year, maybe a little more. Obafemi versus Jacob Fatu is a match that everybody wants. It's a match that will be the most insane match ever. And truthfully, could be a huge push for Obafemi to dethrone Jacob Fatu. So I want to just talk about him in case it's like a long year, whatever. But ultimately, I don't think that will happen. LA Knight is still in this kind of mix. I don't believe LA Knight will still be able to go against Jacob Fatu. I think more than likely LA Knight and Jacob Fatu is kind of done, and LA Knight will be drafted to probably Raw and have a chance at Money in the Bank. That is what I'm hoping for. Carmelo Hayes is another interesting one because I believe Carmelo Hayes is the Battle Royal winner. You could convince me in a triple threat Carmelo Hayes steals a win from somebody. Carmelo Hayes is very talented in the ring. He has great promo skills. I'm super high on Carmelo Hayes, but with dethroning Jacob Fatu, is that what will happen? I don't know. I really do believe that more than likely Carmelo Hayes will ultimately win. It's so hard. I feel like the IC title is more him. But I do believe the U.S. title can make a lot of sense. I just think he's so young. Winning against Jacob Fatu won't happen. I think it'll be a little bit later. But again, push your young stars. I always think you should do that. Carmelo Hayes does make a lot of sense, though, for somebody that could win. Up next is Aleister Black. This is where I start saying, like, real contenders. So I put Aleister Black here because ultimately I think there is going to be somewhat of a push of Aleister Black. I don't know if it's going to be IC title, US title. I think it's going to be something with a mid-card. Aleister Black is a demon. And so him versus Jacob Fatu is a match I want to see. Is it going to happen? Maybe not. But I think he will stay on SmackDown because Zelina Vega is currently the US champion, and that is his, other one. And Aleister Black most likely will have probably some couple feuds before we see him really go into the title picture. And then ultimately Aleister Black and Jacob Fatu could be a feud we see. But I hope it's in a triple threat or fatal four-way rather than getting one-on-one. There's nothing really other than maybe the top ones that I could see one-on-one makes a lot of sense for Jacob Fatu to be pinned. But yes, Aleister Black is a mention here. Rusev is another mention who recently has come back to WWE. This is more because I want to see the match. Imagine Rusev versus Jacob Fatu. Oh my God, two meaty men going crazy. That's a match that I want to see ASAP no Rocky. Rusev is somebody that I wonder how they're going to treat him. Is it winning titles? Is it mid-card? Is it having good feuds? I think we're more likely going to see good feuds with a chance at mid-card title. But still, I think he's going to be a main player in a lot of the Rusev things, and I think Rusev Day should come at some point. I just have to believe that with the U.S. title and how the trajectory is trajectory Trajectory. Why could I not say that word? It's like specific. I'm not even going to try. Not even going to try and say that word. Um, I think ultimately Rusev makes a lot of sense to potentially dethrone Jacob Fatu in the near future. But again, this is another one that's fatal 4-way. I don't feel like it would make sense for Rusev to go against Jacob Fatu and win it off and pin him. Up next is Bronson Reed. So this is where I would have to say these are people that I want to see matches, and I would be happy if they dethrone Jacob Fatu. Bronson Reed will get a push when he comes back. I'm guessing it'll be mid-card. I always thought it would be IC title. I think it's the US title. I think Bronson Reed is a super, super dark horse to potentially destroy Jacob Fatu. I think with the stature, with two meaty men going crazy, with how built they are, with kind of hints at the new bloodline thing that they had at Survivor Series, compelling story of Bronson Reed, and I really do believe maybe Solo recruits Bronson Reed and takes out Jacob Fatu, and Bronson Reed wins the title. You can have some storyline there where I just ultimately believe Bronson Reed's a big push coming. Always thought it was IC title, thought it was Money in the Bank. Really believed it could have been Money in the Bank. It's more likely US title, let's be honest here. Drew McIntyre is someone that I'd be kind of sad, but I really think if we're taking out every other kind of two people that I have, in my opinion, Drew McIntyre's the one. I want to see Drew versus Jacob Fatu. That is a huge match. I think Jacob Fatu, and they're already starting to hint it, which is amazing because I've made this right after WrestleMania. Drew versus Jacob Fatu is the best way if you'd want to pin Jacob Fatu. I would understand it. Drew McIntyre is a huge, huge guy in WWE. And I also want to say, you could say, Drew McIntyre mid-card run. Drew McIntyre, my nose is literally dripping. I don't know why. Drew McIntyre, he's so better than this. He deserves main title run. I have to say that Drew McIntyre needs the U.S. title, and he's a Grand Slam champ. Drew McIntyre winning this U.S. title could be vital to Drew McIntyre. I really do believe him dethroning Jacob Fatu could be the route of a huge, huge match. Like LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu, huge match. Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu, another huge match. I see it. In the cards. And I believe this could be the way where you really make Jacob Fatu have a huge match with somebody. Drew McIntyre's the one to slay him. I would love that. But then again, I want Drew McIntyre to do great things. So these are the two that I believe are our most likelies. I would say they're in a separate tier, and then I would say Drew and Bronson's a separate tier. Jimmy Uso is who I've always thought was going to dethrone Jacob Fatu, but in recent times I've started to realize maybe not. Jimmy Uso makes a ton of sense to go and beat Jacob Fatu. They won the singles push. They won him as a babyface push. Jacob Fatu is a heel right now. It would make a ton of sense for him to get a championship over Jacob Fatu. The U.S. title reign, ton of sense. Makes ton of sense. Jimmy Uso could do it in a triple threat, so you don't pin Jacob Fatu. That's how I see it. But at the same time, I really realize Solo Sikoa is probably going to be the one. I think it will happen at SummerSlam where we'll have Solo versus Jacob Fatu. I think ultimately it will be Solo winning. I think we're going to see a storyline of Solo claiming he got Jacob Fatu's win for him. And then what we thought Jacob Fatu would turn heel on Solo or be more heelish towards Solo. I think ultimately what we're going to see is Solo turning on Jacob Fatu to really get that heel against Jacob Fatu. And I think Jacob Fatu will be a tweener where he's a destructive babyface, but still a babyface that a lot of people love. He already kind of is that right now. I think you don't have to change anything about his presentation. You can maybe just say, like, for example, even after WrestleMania, he said, there was some line that he said that kind of was like a babyface line where it's like, your new U.S. champion, and it was trying to like go with the crowd. I don't know. There's something like that, but I really do believe that it will be Solo Sikoa. He'll do backstab Jacob Fatu to either lose the title or get the title match. Then we'll have maybe the new bloodline turn on Jacob Fatu, and then ultimately maybe add Bronson Reed to the new bloodline to fill in that void to take on against Jacob Fatu, and then a big singles run for Jacob Fatu after. Or I could really see Jacob Fatu losing to Solo Sikoa. He picks up the title again. Then that's how Jimmy Uso gets the title from Jacob Fatu. Or Jacob Fatu solo Jimmy. I just think that's the next three that we have for this U.S. title reign until someone comes in and messes it all up, which could happen, which could 100% happen. All right, now I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.